Good morning, friends. Today, our activity is incorporating visual schedules. So we're continuing our discussions about transitions and what you can do to help kiddos that are working on those or having a hard time with certain activities. I have two examples here of one used for a smaller kiddo that can recognize pictures, and you want to use these identifiers to use first then statements. We've talked about these. I use these a lot in therapy, and I'm sure other therapists have spoken about their power as well. But this is a nice example of a visual schedule that can be used for kiddos 2 or 3 if they can identify a picture and what that represents. So it would just cue you to say first get dressed, then blocks. Something you can constantly refer to. You can give this to them if they're able to get dressed or assist in dressing. If we're having multiple meltdowns, this is a good tool to use to constantly refer to, especially if they're not responding to just a verbal cue at this point. This is an example of one to use with an older kid. I would say school age. And that can go all the way up to adolescence, really, especially if you have a kiddo that thrives on smaller chunks of information. So I always say to make the visual schedule as concrete but as simple as possible. So we don't want a lot of detail. We're not saying every single thing we're having for breakfast or every article of clothing that is involved in getting dressed. But we do want to make sure that it's concrete, that there is an end and a clear end so that they can check it off themselves. So if Hollis was school aged, I would give him the schedule in the mornings. If he's motivated by TV or iPad or insert the blank outside time, whatever you're thinking, you want that to be your final step. And the first 3 to be something that they have to do. And something that they can see, like I said, a beginning and an end to. So breakfast, get dressed, brush teeth, and then we can have our show. You also want to make sure that there's no more than 5 steps. More than 5 gets too cumbersome, and it just looks like you're never going to finish. So ideally, I might say just 3 steps. But if your school-age kiddo is older, and let's say getting dressed is the really hard one, consider this a warm-up. This is the hard task. This is still an expectation. And then here's the reward. And it's not necessarily a reward. It doesn't have to be a sticker or a piece of candy or anything like that. It's just part of their routine. So again, this is just a really simple piece of paper and a marker version. I really like using portable whiteboards because say something happens and they don't have the shirt that they want. Well, then we might need to add a step to wash clothes, or we might need to find a new shirt. And you can modify that on a whiteboard and kind of help them work through that with some visual supports. Let us know if this is something that you'd like to do. I also would like to say that this is proof that to be an OT, you do not have to be an artist. Let us know if you try this week and if it helps. And if you have any specific questions about your kiddo, be sure to reach out for your therapist. I know all of us are pretty well versed in using these kind of supports in our toolbox. Good luck.